What's up, everybody? It's Mother's Day. It's not just Sunday, it's Mother's Day. So first of all, I would just like to say Happy Mother's Day to all the moms out there. And, know that I just think it's worth acknowledging that I am trying to spend time today praying and thinking about folks who don't have moms that are around anymore. Folks that have, other stuff that kind of can come up. I feel like Mother's Day is a really great day to support my wife and to sort of just like love on her as much as possible. But then, speaking of Mother's Day,
they're having somebody's having a shindig across the way. All of our doors and windows are closed.
They are having it.
I think you might still pick up music.
But anyway, those of us Mother's Day is also bittersweet because it makes me really miss my mom too. So
I also think of moms that have lost children, right?
Yeah.
You have the angels in heaven, like those are hard days. Like it's not always that simple or black and white for people. There's all situations out there. So happy Mother's Day to you all.
Before I talk about my Fisher Price camera, see that's holding them in here. Could you tell your Mother's Day story real quick that Marley told you yesterday?
Oh yeah. So she just said something that like caught me off guard. So yesterday I worked on a project that was like not a fun project to work on, something that was a little bit arduous and I just didn't feel like doing it and I've been delaying. And so anyway, I tackled that project and started working on it. And I was telling Marley about my experience with it. And she just looked at me and she goes, "Are you so proud of yourself?" And I was like, it just kind of like, I didn't expect that to be her answer or like her response. And so it caught me off guard. And I thought, oh, I am proud of myself. Like, yes, I am. And so it just made me think later of, actually it was in the middle of the night that this like thought happened for me. I just thought like, gosh, I am proud of myself. And I spent so much time as a mom being proud of like the people and folks around me and pouring into other people. It's easy to like forget that you need to be proud of yourself. And so I just want to tell like anybody who's a mama out there that like you pour into, even teachers that like, you don't even have to be a mom. You can just be an educator and take this away. Like you pour in and tell your students like you're proud of them all the time. Remember to be proud of yourself, like for when we do things and we accomplish things. And, we're always everybody's their own hardest critic, but like to really like remember yourself and be proud of yourself is like so important. And I got that from Marley reminding me, like asking me the question. It was so sweet.
I love it, man. I love it. She is wonderful. And what a 13-year-old
I know
thing to say and a good reminder. So, look, we are not sure if many people are going to show up for this day. I see there's a bunch of people on here now, but so this is like if
people show up, we'll have it. If they don't,
we're here. If it needs to end a little early, that's fine too. Look, it's end of the school year. It's Mother's Day. We just want to be consistent and show up every week. And I'm going to be real honest with you. I asked my wife, I was like, should we do this today? Because it's Mother's Day. And
I said, sure, why not?
Yeah. So cool. If you don't have a question, I'm going to talk about my Fisher Price camera.
I mean, no, we do have a question.
All right, go ahead.
Hold on to that Fisher Price camera.
All right. I know people are waiting.
Yeah, Tracy is up first asking, why are teachers seen as entry-level positions in education while principals, directors, and academic coaches are considered steps above? I think she said that was in regard to she said this is from salary, work conditions, respect within the school environment. That's a great question, Tracy.
It's so funny too, because I think it depends on where you're teaching, right? So I know people that I was talking to a guy that was telling me he does work out in Kansas with educators. And he said that this young woman that he knew all through high school, I think maybe it was one of his students, she went into college, she got into teaching. And within 3 years, they were pushing her towards administration. Oh, no, wait, maybe it was after the first year. They were like, please become like, you should step into the assistant principal role. And this is someone that's 22, 23 years old, right? No shade to if you're young, but there is a certain, like, it's forgotten often that that leadership is learned. that you have to learn how to lead. You are not simply managing. You're not simply checking off boxes. You need to show people that you can take them from something that's difficult to something that's better. You have to create this culture that people want to be a part of. And that is not just, that's not the same thing as leading a classroom. But we push people into leadership so easily and so early sometimes, especially right now with as many, people leaving education as there are. But, I don't know, Trace, like I've actively stayed away from administration because I wanted to work with students. I didn't want to work with just problems. I didn't want to work with, there was nothing about at the time, that might change now. Like that would be interesting for me to kind of think about that space. But like I just wanted to be with kids because I wanted that immediate interaction, right? And I felt like everyone I ever knew that was an assistant principal, all you did was deal with everybody else's problems all day. And principals have all these other things that they're dealing with that aren't like just education focused. It's budgets and all the other things. So yeah, I think that teachers are professionals. Like the coaches and the managers of a sports organization aren't like, they're important, but they're no more or less important than the players, the key players on the field. So yeah, I don't know why that is. I can guess some things, but I don't.
Seems like it's backwards to me.
I don't know if the world just needs my speculation out there either.
Okay, Nassim.
Maybe it does. I'm gonna say this.
You going for it?
Because I think traditionally, we look at teaching as women's work, and we do not pay women the same amount as men, and we don't give them the same amount of respect as men. So I think traditionally we look at leadership as men. That's like a men's role, and teachers is a women's role. And so I think that narrative, whether we talk about it or not, is out there. And so I think that plays some.
I agree.
Role there.
Yeah, I agree too.
So
I think everyone else should too, but everybody has their own opinion. All right. Nassim is up next asking, how do you look for a good school that's unfamiliar?
Oh man. I think, Nassim, when I'm looking for, if that was my goal, was to be at a really good school that is, I don't know, off the beaten path, maybe like it doesn't show up on everyone's radar. It is, for me, it's always actively looking for it at every turn. Like you hear about a school, you see about a school, you maybe look stuff up in your news feed, look up, check out schools that are doing great stuff like on Instagram, like look up your local area and see what kind of schools are doing what. I am always amazed when I find a new school that is doing incredible stuff that I didn't know about. So because I'm doing this documentary, there are a number of schools in Kansas that they looked at.
Rusty's on here.
Oh, right. Oh, awesome. So Rusty was talking about
he's the Cool Bikes Project.
Oh yeah. So Rusty has a YouTube channel. I really want to check it out. I've not checked it out yet. He like restores old bikes and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. So anyway, Rusty was telling me about these two different schools where like there's one school, and it is a very affluent school in Kansas that has like cheap medical care for educators. So if you or your kid need to go to I think it goes this extensive. If you need to go to the dentist, if you need to have, someone has an ear infection, like you have to go to the pediatrician, it's in the school. It's part of being a part of their school is you can just go down and get taken care of. I've also, Rusty was telling me about another school where it's in a very small community, but the community looks out for the teachers. So where they're lacking in pay, folks will help them out with like babysitting and other sort of like life essentials that would be really great, especially like my wife and I, like growing up without both my parents are deceased. Her mom lives in New Mexico. Dad was not always interested in babysitting. So it was like, if you wanted to go on a date, it was hard, man. Thank God for Romina, one of my favorite students of all time, who she's babysitting my kids next month so we can go to Dallas together. Yeah. So I just think that is it's keeping your ear open, Nassim, for things that might be showing up, that might, you just don't know where they're coming from, when they'll be there. So I think it's looking for that. And I'm always surprised once I start trying to notice something, what sort of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Sort of.
I think, and also just being curious when you actually go to a school for an interview or any of those things are looking, it's like asking a lot of questions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the best method. All right. Maisha is up next asking, as I look into the summer, I know I want to make extra money at my second job. How can I find a balance between working my second job and getting rest from the school year?
So I think, Maisha, rest. So there's a couple of ways that I'm kind of looking at this summer, because I know that like summer now for us is like full-time work mode, right? And there's two things I think this makes me think of. One, I think there's active rest periods, right? So when you talk about going to your job and really loving it, it's worth asking yourself if that's filling you up also, right? Like to go to Office Depot, to engage with customers, putting away products and knowing they're going to stay there, and some kid's not going to touch all of them. I mean, maybe have some unruly child that comes in there with their parent, and you'd have to deal with that. But I think rest can be active also. I think it's also, for me, it's making the most of my time. I think this is maybe a 3-prong idea. Making the most of my time and making sure that, my kids, it's really funny. My daughter has a list a mile long of things that she wants to do on a Saturday, but often she won't wake up until like 9:30, or maybe she was up already, but she was just like sitting on her phone in her bedroom for an hour before she comes downstairs. Then she has to get ready, which at 13 takes a long time. We've entered it officially takes a long time to get myself together, to pick up my outfit, to do makeup, I don't even know what is happening, but it takes a long time. Sorry, I will move on. But it is being mindful of your days, right? So it can feel like summer's so abundant in the beginning, but making sure, are you waking up early enough? Are you getting out of the house? Are you actually doing the things that you want to be doing? And knowing that there's rewards out there for doing that stuff. I often don't want to leave the house, and then I do, and I'm like, damn, I'm so glad that I did that. The other thing is, I've been really thinking a lot about, listen to an interview with a guy that I am fascinated by, this guy, Kevin Kelly, who started a magazine called Wired Magazine. And Kevin Kelly said, to be really great at your work, you have to be really great at your rest. And that people underestimate and I loved this, the importance of goofing off and wasting time. That in doing those things, doing silly things, like things that people go, this is really spend your time doing that, man. And I have a couple of those I'm working on. I'm working on a couple of, man, that's what you're doing right now, huh? Yep, that's what I'm doing. So it's using that time, and I think that helps us to rest well. So you could look it up. Kevin Kelly talked to Tim Ferriss on his podcast about this, and there's a snippet on YouTube. It's worth checking out and kind of letting that rattle around in your brain a bit.
Mm. All right. Steph Shook is up next asking, I know I've asked before, but how can you keep your energy up after summer school? I have to take summer school again this year. Worried I will be burnt for next year and the musical I've planned.
So I think it's that same idea of, if we're working hard, not just work hard, play hard, but it's taking rest seriously and thinking about, what do we need? How much do we need? So when I'm on my stuff and I'm getting a good amount of sleep, I am mindful of when am I eating, right? So for me to get quality sleep, I know that I need to stop eating about 2 hours before I go to bed. I stop drinking, or no, actually, it might be even more than that. I think it's 2 hours. I stop drinking water and 2 hours before I go to bed. I stop drinking anything, because otherwise, you got to pee in the middle of the night 7 times. So it's making sure I'm getting quality sleep. It's making sure I'm hanging out with quality people. It's making sure that I'm getting time with my family. I'm getting time to do things that I love. And knowing that even if some of those cost money, it is an investment in you. That time, that energy, that effort is an investment in you, and it will pay dividends. but that when we don't do that, we hurt on the other side. So, and I'm just thinking of not a lot of different ways that I'm kind of doing that. I'll give you one really quick example, just so this isn't just in theory. But last Friday was 11 weeks that my son and I have been going to the gym. Me and my 15-year-old son, for 11 weeks solid. We haven't missed a workout day. 5 days a week we work out, and that is, man, I haven't worked out that consistently in a long time. But it's to the point now where we're even going to, it's going to cost me a little bit more, but we're moving from Planet Fitness. It's been my fitness exercise planet for a long time. And so, but there's a spot near our house that has a lot more to offer. They have rock climbing. They have a pool that you can do laps in. There's tons of other stuff there. And so, and it's a bit more money, but it's an investment in us. It's an investment in joy, in something new and something fun. And it's something that we've been doing. So it's like finding those little ways that you can make investments in yourself so that you can live stronger and do better.
I think all those things are important, but Steph, as a mom and a busy mom at that, I would say it is.
What do you think today's about moms?
Yeah, maybe. Structuring your time. I think it's really like when you're home, it's like I love the part that when you talk about take rest seriously, right? Because you need to actually, when you're so busy, like you come off of summer school or you come off of like a project or something like really crazy busy and it like wipes you out, you need to listen to your body and you need to take a few days where you just don't do anything at home. It's not even that long. Like it's not like you need a week to do that. Like you could probably take really 2 solid days if you did bare minimum around your house. So like to keep it so you guys, we're functioning, like that you have some clean dishes, like every time you need it, but like take 2 days and really, really rest, right? Like let the laundry pile up. Like it's okay. Like just rest so you can really feel rested. And then when you're going into those next couple of days, it's like just have a combo of rest and work, right? Like it's like scheduling and making sure. I think we can get it all done when there's like intentionality behind it. That's what I find the best that helps me, because I wear a lot of different hats and I do a lot of different things within our home and our business. And so it's hard to balance it all, especially with like I homeschool and, I do all the I just do a lot. And so I find that the best way is to really, really be intentional with those things. So when you're spending time with your kids, you're really spending time with your kids, and schedule it in. It's like scheduling time really helps. Like all of that really does create a lot of freedom for your mind.
Yes.
And that moms have busy minds. And I know that has been those two like small things, like scheduling things and really being intentional about the thing that you're doing has seemed to really help me.
It's a great answer.
Oh, thanks. Thought I put that the mom spin on there for you.
Thanks.
Because that's not something you can always relax to.
I only have dad spin. I don't own mom spin.
You don't. All right, I'm looking for a new question. So
do it. Can I talk about my camera?
Oh yeah, perfect time.
All right. So Marley and I, we call ourselves street pirates, and we go out on the streets and we look for stuff. Like we go to antique stores, we go to yard sales, and so town near us had townwide yard sale the other day, and I found this Fisher-Price camera that I'm pretty sure I owned when I was a little kid, right? So the beauty of, and for those of you that don't know, cameras used to not just be in your phone. You had to own this separate thing, and it would have this series of flashes that you had at the top. Look it up. So you can look through it and take a picture. And I saw this and I was like, dude, I would freaking take this to school on Monday and I would annoy every kid with this thing. And when I say annoy, it's like kids get annoyed because you're just like, you're being dumb. Yeah. And it's like, why are you being dumb near me? Because it's fun. And so I would just
something I've learned from having teenagers is they don't always want to, they want to have fun and do the silly and be the weird, but they don't want to show you that they want to do all that, but they love it.
Because I've known
it's just like too cool to laugh.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So I would just walk around school and be like, hey guys, yearbook picture, and then just start taking pictures of everybody. And that's what I would do with this tomorrow. So this cost me $2. I didn't even haggle over the price because I was like, yeah, $2, man, come on. At the antique store, this thing cost me like $35.
I know, right?
But this is, I would just have it in my room, and whenever I saw maybe like something fun or cute or a kid doing what he wasn't supposed to be doing, I'd be like, are we doing? All right. You know what? We're documenting this. Now I have it. Now I'm going to show that picture to your mother. And it is dumb stuff like that that really gets kids to like either laugh or stop doing what they're doing or like take a momentary break.
It's a twist.
From reality.
What I love about it mostly is it's a twist on a way of play. Like, you do need to get them to stop doing the thing that they were doing. But it's like, I can really just get you to do what I need you to do just by being silly and lighthearted or fun versus having to be like, oh, I told you, that.
Do I have to tell you again?
Yeah.
Stop. And instead, even if I was saying that, do I have to tell you again? You know what? I'm not even playing anymore. Come here. There we go. Now I have proof. Now I don't even have to talk to you about it anymore. I'm going to send it to the principal immediately.
Yeah, I love that. Real fast, I just want to say I'm going to answer Nassim's question. He is asking, can you show us around the new place? It looks nice.
I can
hold on, Nassim. There will be a video that comes out this summer that's on our list of to do. So we can't show you around because we want to show you a full video later.
Having a new setup. Spoiler alert! New setup for after. So we'll take June off from the live feed, and then it will show back up right after 4th of July as people are getting ready to go. Some people are getting ready back to school. And we're going to co-host this situation. We're going to have a whole new setup and a desk, and it's going to look like
but we'll show the office too, because there's a lot of new stuff that like is just facing you that people can't see.
We're going to be Regis and Kathy Lee, baby.
Oh gosh, that's not the goal.
Can we be seeing?
I'm already just can't even believe I'm going to be on a camera.
Delilah. That's what we're going to be.
Stop it.
Just did that.
Look, people, this is what I literally deal with, this ridiculousness all day.
Delilah.
It's my life. Okay, let's move on to John Lopez.
I did that pretty good.
Stop. Moving on. All right. John is asking, what would you like to say to the first year teachers who are completing their first year in the classroom? Didn't we make a video like that?
It's possible.
Maybe that was a mid-year.
We are coming up on 600 videos. So I can't remember. But to first year teachers that have just finished teaching or getting ready to finish their first year, you have to rest hard this summer. And I would say this, John. I do a couple of like a 3-prong approach here. One, start now. Write down everything that worked this year and everything that didn't. You think you're going to remember next year what worked and what didn't work, and you were sorely mistaken, right? Write down what worked, what didn't work. Then I want you to rest hard this summer. Like really, really put in time of rest, of goofing off, of silliness, of hobbies, of hanging out with people, of deeply filling yourself up. And then look, I'm going to say this, Lopez, and I wonder where you would land on this as well, but don't feel bad if you want to do school stuff in the summer. Like, I think there's time to take off and there's time to get, like, it's fun to create things for your classroom. It's fun to teach. It's like when you are, think about this, like when you are not doing paperwork, you're not filling out reports, you're not doing state testing, but you are just like sitting at home and you're trying to dream up like, what's a new way we could do vocab? What's a new way that I could teach this math concept? What's a new way that we could explore molecules? And then you start dreaming up new ways, and that would be exciting, that would be relevant, that would be fun, that would be cool, that would maybe bring a little bit of wonder and curiosity back to your classroom. Dreaming up some of those things, that's what gets you excited. But I think that you need to step away from the classroom to kind of get some of those ideas sometimes and then bring those back. But like, write those ideas down as you go through the summer. I'm not saying you have to sit there and like build out worksheets and build out like lesson plans and stuff like that, but to just kind of like have a section in your notes in your phone that you're constantly like, you can write things down if you think of them and stuff like that. Like, don't feel bad about that. It's like when I used to listen to like the same song all the time, and people would be like, don't listen to the same song, you're not going to like it anymore. And it's like, no, it's so dumb. And I do that with work too, where people tell me like, don't work so much. It's like, but I really am enjoying what I'm doing. Like, this is incredibly gratifying.
Well,
So why
especially if
wouldn't
you
I
can
do
take a
this?
break in the summer, like a little bit of a break and rest and do fun things. And then the natural ability and desire to create comes back, right?
Yeah.
It's when we're in our like more relaxed state that creativity comes. And so it's like,
The
if it's
neuroscience
there,
shows
it's
it,
like
right?
jump into it. Like
It's not just a
yeah.
theory. It's like it's a real thing. That music is so loud outside right now.
I know.
It is.
I wonder, can anybody hear any
I
of
don't
that
know. I
music
feel like I'm
in the
going to get
background?
demonetized on here for this.
John Lopez said, I would also like to say, keep a few physical things from your first year and post them on a wall to remember how far you have come in a year.
That's a good one,
that's
man.
a great suggestion.
You forget how much you've
Mm.
changed over time. I mean, we were watching old family videos this morning, and it's like,
that's my favorite. Just
You
side
look
note,
back
that's
to-
my favorite thing to do on Mother's Day. Always is just to watch old videos
15
of
years
like,
ago,
yeah,
and I'm like, what the hell?
through the years of my kids.
I had brown hair.
I know. It's so funny. Okay. Are we ready for another question? Nassim is up asking, what do you look for when you go for an interview? What do you look into for a school when walking into it?
I want to see, Nassim, I try to picture myself being there. Could I be here? Could I see myself walking these hallways, talking to these kids? Is there a vibe or an energy in there that feels like something I could work with? Is it very strict? The teachers, is the discipline mean?
But how do you know? Is there anything? I think Nassim, let me try and help pinpoint his question a bit more. I think he's looking for like, is there like any specific signs that you would look for that you could gather that information, or is it just a feeling that you get, or a
So I
vibe,
think-
or the way people talk to each other, or like how are you looking or finding those clues out for those sort of things?
So when I started in West Philly, I remember the day I went in there, and it was such a stark difference from where I came from in Camden, because I noticed that one, kids weren't running the halls. There wasn't madness happening in every given spot. There was student art on the walls all over the place, and not just like a cool picture that you made in art class. That stuff's cool too, but like murals that kids had painted that were incredible. That it was like, this is the kids' school. Like this is, we are creating an establishment where learning is important. That, I remember I was waiting in front of the front office. There's a kid out there that was in trouble, and I was like, I go, hey man, what's up? My name's CJ Reynolds. And he was like, hey, what's going on or whatever. And I remember asking him, I said, did you get in trouble? And he was like, yeah, I got in trouble. And I was like, what happened? He was like, it was stupid. Like I did this thing and I shouldn't have done it. But like, even the fact that like I was talking to a kid that was in trouble, then I saw the process right away of what was going to happen with him, how they called him into the office, how they talked to him, how he came back out. I remember Nick Pascal like gave him a hug and like patted him on the back and like sent him back to class. It was like
small little things that like
notice
you,
it's not the big things they tell you about, it's the nuance. Do the teachers look happy? Right? Like if you see someone come out and down the hallway and they're like, yo, what's up, my man? They give someone a high five or something silly's happening or something's fun. Watching how teachers are welcoming kids into the rooms, how kids are leaving the classrooms. Are they running around? Are they talking to each other? Like trying to pick up on those little things is how I think some of the ways that we start finding, is this a school that I think is a good fit for me? It's in the small, quiet spaces in between the big things that the administrators want to show you that we really see if this is a place for me.
That's all right. That's a better answer. Thank you. I hope that answered that for you, Nassim. I think so, because he also said like, right, what if it's in person? What should you look for and questioning and paying attention to?
Yeah.
Which I feel like
when I went to Boys Latin to interview, I asked if I could talk to students.
Oh, you
so
did?
They sent me on a tour of the school, and with Tyler Jackson, who now works there, and he took me so the teachers were giving me a tour. I asked if I could just go. If I said, hey, would you mind like if this young man like who was with us like showed me around? They were like, oh yeah. And then I just asked him about the school.
Yeah.
I saw him talking to his homies. I'd introduce myself to them. I'd put in a word and ask. I met Diawara that time and stuff.
Yeah.
So it was like, that is how I think it's by asking people like, do you like working here? Like, what do you love
Yeah.
about work? If you could change one
That's such a
thing,
great
what would you
question and an
change?
easy one to get a real like a good glimpse or answer. Like you'll see their facial reaction. Like there's a lot of other subtleties that you can look for
Facts.
that people should be paying attention. Interesting.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, Nassim is up asking, why is education challenging more than ever before?
I think part of it is because we keep trying to educate kids like it's 1955 and it's 2023. And so we need to upgrade the way that we're doing things. We need to, if there's one thing we've learned, like as a world, it is we have to learn how to care for students. And I know that there are a lot of teachers out there that don't want to do that, right? And how do I know this? I'm not just making this up. I like learn from people. I talk to people that tell me they just want to teach. I didn't get in this to be a therapist, and neither did I. But if we look at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, we have to start with these kind of basic needs. Are kids eating? Are they? And we do free and reduced lunch, even though it's generally garbage. But are we caring for kids? The kids feel safe in school. And when we can take care of some of those basic needs, which isn't this big, extensive thing that has to happen. It's very, very simple how to do this, but it's really caring for kids on all facets so that they can feel safe to grow, so that they can feel excited about being here, so they can actually just be here. They can not focus and think about the 27, the fact that I'm hungry or I'm unsafe in the hallways or I'm afraid to go to the bathroom or I'm getting bullied or picked on or anything like that. I can just show up, feel loved, feel cared for, and learn. But instead we are running things like stuff hasn't changed in the last even 4 years in education. So we need to do a far better job of equipping teachers. I think that we need to do a better job of taking things off teachers' plates so that they can go simple and deep instead of wide and complex, as Mr. Rogers says. And I think only then will we start creating these institutions of learning that really are caring for the whole child, not just downloading facts into their brains.
Yeah, I think Roger, someone in the comments, Roger said he feels like that's not true. Nobody acts like it's the 50s. So I think I tried to clarify. We were talking more about the model of school, not necessarily the teachers.
Certainly. So, all right. So what do I mean by that? I think we are still doing things by and large the same way that we've always done them. And look, this isn't every school and it's not every teacher, right? This is a generality that I'm making.
Well, and you just talked about all kinds of great schools that don't do anything like that.
Tons of schools that are doing great stuff.
But there are a lot of schools that are really, really...
Yep. But when I go into schools and I work with teachers and they say this is how we do it, it's still a lot of this old drill and kill. It's a lot of downloading kids with information. It's seventh graders sitting through 50-minute lectures. And it's still doing poster board projects. It's still a lot of the same old thing. And some of those tactics and ways that we have done things over years are not even bad, right? I'm not even discounting all of it, but there's ways to upgrade it. There's ways to make it for this generation. And I think that there's a lot of that needs to be taken care of so that kids can show up and learn and do better, and teachers too.
I feel like they should let's not be attacked, right? There's just upgrades. I look at the pandemic showed that there was a lot of upgrades that businesses had to take when there was this new jump. It's even just basic example, our water and sewer bill in the township. It used to be you had to go into the municipal building to make a payment on it. And now because of the pandemic, they had to upgrade and move with the times and what people needed, which was a digital platform. And so now you can go and pay it online. So it shouldn't just be everything has to upgrade. Why shouldn't education be one of those things as well?
But I think, and this is a much larger conversation, but it's being careful with those upgrades as well, because I think what we did during the pandemic is a lot of in education, we moved towards digital. We moved towards...
Just because you move to digital, let me clarify, that's not an upgrade always. It is for a business, but when you're in the education system, it's not quite as simple. But I'm talking about the actual model of the school, like you were saying, really could use some upgrades. It hasn't been upgraded in
I think
in
teachers are using a lot of technology, not as tools, but as...
Oh, yes.
It's just go on vocabulary and do the thing. And it's we're not doing anything.
That doesn't make it any fun,
Yeah.
right? We're copying from a textbook to a digital notebook.
Yeah,
It's like, that's not really
paperless. All right. Anyway, that's like
Okay.
That's a longer conversation.
I know. All right. Well, Naseem is up next again, asking, when you were a teacher, how did you budget yourself?
Horribly. I got into tons of debt when I was first started teaching. I made $31,000 a year, which in the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area is nothing, especially when you have a mortgage that's $2,000 a month for a row home. So it's like you're just not making a lot of money. And then when I first started teaching, we didn't get paid in the summer either. Your last paycheck was June 15th. You didn't get another paycheck till September 15th, which meant I had to work like 3 and 4 and 5 jobs in the summer sometimes to make enough money to take care of, I was head of household. And so I think if I went back, I would do things much differently. But I think teaching in a lot of places is very hard to do without a side hustle anymore. I certainly would not have been able to survive the last, I don't know.
Well, again, it goes back to
years.
show, I think for women, it's lower pay. It's primarily a woman's role is for teachers. And it is so true, because to be a teacher and to be a head of household, like the head of the income for a household, it's just not enough.
Yeah.
And we know from personal experience, like it was just never
And that's
enough.
tricky too, because it was like,
but if I did it and you worked somewhere else,
so you couldn't just go back to work, right? So it was not.
We had different circumstances, but for anybody, like, right, even if you're not special needs children, it just wouldn't work even for a head of household. It's always, sure. It's a lot of like,
unless you have 2 incomes.
My husband does this and then I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
Right. That's usually how it works.
Yeah.
Okay. John Fox is up next asking, how much should we allow students to get up / walk around the classroom? Feels like it should be allowed, but it quickly gets out of hand with some students. Thoughts or advice for 5th grade?
So John, I think it's, that is a good question. It's like when kids have to go to the bathroom. I was always uncomfortable when kids would ask me to go to the bathroom. And I'm like, to go to the bathroom. I don't feel like this is a thing that I need to be the lifeguard on or something like that. It felt like I was policing kids in ways that was like, is this what we're doing? So, however, we have to remember that kids are going to do dumb stuff, right? They're going to touch somebody. They're going to go, shiny object gets their attention. And the next thing you know, there's too many people up and walking around and doing things. So I think it's having conversations with kids about these. Look, do we need to, right? Because this is what it comes down to. It doesn't come down to just what I want. It comes down to, what do you all need? So do we need to have a lot of rules and regulations around when we can stand up, when we can get up, when we can walk somewhere, when we can do something, whether it's sharpening a pencil, whether it's throwing out a piece of trash. That was another one when kids would say, can I sharpen a pencil? And it's like, is this really a question that I need to answer for you? Or could you just, stand up and go sharpen your pencil and do it in a civilized manner? So it's having those conversations and then feeling it out. So John, if you have classes that you feel like, they can just do it. I don't say stuff. This is not that class. If you need to go to the bathroom, just give me a heads up. Yo, Reynolds, I'm going to the bathroom. Or I would ask kids sometimes to just check in with me before going to the bathroom, because I might have something I was about, some knowledge bomb I was about to drop, something fun we were about to do. We were going to transition to outside. So I might say yo, listen, go to the bathroom, but then we're going to be on the front steps when you come back. It's making sure because kids don't always know what's coming up next. And then having that conversation. Hey, look, y'all, do we need to do this? Or can we just handle getting up to throw out a piece of trash in the trash can? And having that feeling, right? And then making your decision based on that. I think also having that conversation with kids about, hey, look, I want to trust y'all. I want to trust you to do the right thing and to make the right choices. Can I do that? Because if you can't, then what's going to happen is we are not just disrupting ourselves. You're disrupting me, and you're disrupting the learning of the other students in the classroom. So ultimately, this has little to do with your inability. It's not just about you screwing around. It's about are you impacting the education of the other people around you? That's a bigger problem. That now we can't have people just walking around, because I'm seeing that you're walking around, these 5 kids are getting distracted, which means more kids are getting distracted. Then I lose everybody. Then we got to come back. Now we're not doing what we need to do. That's not going to happen in here, right? We're trying to help you be as successful as humanly possible. And so that's how I would kind of think about that.
Okay, our next question is coming from Ryan, asking, when you made the transition out of the classroom, what are some things that you did or discovered that made it successful or easier?
So, I think transitioning out of the classroom, anything we've had that's been successful, I would say in large part is because we have no backup plan. I mean, I guess I could go back and teach somewhere or get a job, but like, I don't have a 2-week paycheck coming in. I got to hustle all the time. I'm constantly thinking of ways that, like, how can we make this lucrative without just I don't want to put things on teachers. I don't want to, I would love to run a business, Ryan, where I didn't have to charge teachers for anything. I would love if schools or districts had to pay for things, but then teachers got the PD, right? They didn't have to pay for the workshop. However, not all schools provide those opportunities. So we create workshops for people. We are working on things like resources for people and all kinds of other stuff that's going to help teachers. But that was some of it. And the other one is, more than ever, I have to live and die by the calendar and my schedule. It has to be so dialed in because it's so easy. Every morning, I could chill. There's no one making me do anything. I could play video games every morning. I could eat crappy breakfast. I could just be sitting there eating Eggos and playing video games and doing whatever I want and kicking it a little bit on YouTube if I want to, but I can't. I get up very early. I put in specific work in the morning. I go take my daughter to school. I go to the gym right away. I come home. I work for the rest of the day till 5 o'clock. We stop and have dinner with the kids. Then we typically go back to work after that. And so it is, having that schedule has, I think, been the thing that changed the most. What do you got, buddy?
I want to say, if you took a different spin on that question,
yeah, sure,
and you thought about it in the way of like, what made your transition to leave the classroom, leave students, like leave education in that way? If I were looking at that question that way, for you, I would say that you 100%, like, looking on the outside at watching you go through that transition, I actually saw that you were so intentional about like your decision before you even made it, that once you got there and transitioned, you were so ready for the transition, because the decision to even get there was so serious and arduous and a long process for you, that you were so sure by the time you were at the end of that journey and ready to make that transition out. And so I think when you're transitioning out of the classroom for the right reasons versus just out of like, I can't do this, I hate education, like that kind of transition that one can leave you not completely fulfilled and like in a difficult spot, like emotionally. Right, emotionally, that's what I'm talking about. But for you, your decision to leave the classroom was a long and well and hard thought out process. So there was no second guessing or unsure or like, no, because the work to get to the decision was so thorough that once the decision was made, it felt exactly what we should be doing and at peace with the decision. So I think if you're looking at this question in that way, like, for any teachers who are like thinking about that or going to do that transition, I would say it has to be made with intention.
And so what does that look like real quick? Let me say, what does it look like when I decided that I was no longer going to go back to my school? It was oh my gosh, man, even the year before, I think I talked to my therapist about it. I talked to my spiritual advisor about it. I talked to my close circle of people who I really, really trust, that I know I'm not going to say something to. They're just going to tell me what I want to hear. They're going to tell me what I need to hear. It was having conversations with my wife. It was praying about it. It was journaling about it. It was thinking like taking long stints of time and thinking like, well, what would this look like when I'm done? Like, how could I turn this into a full-time job? and still really take care of my family. And because there's a lot of expensive needs in our house. And so it was, and then it was ultimately, what is that feeling that I have? Is this feeling that I have to leave because I'm mad, or because I'm upset, or because I don't like how things are anymore? And that's fine. That is totally fine to leave for those reasons. But what am I going to do with that anger? And what I did with that, with my frustration with where things got to in my school and in education at large, was I want to help teachers. I want to help schools create spaces where learning is fun, it is enjoyable. I want classrooms. I want teachers to have classrooms that they want to walk into every single day. I want to help teachers create culture, help schools create culture that people are thrilled that they work here with these people doing this work. And so that idea, and then the idea that we could really do that. We've already been doing it for 6 years up until then. To be able to say in the 7th year, we're going to go full tilt on that. And then what's that going to look like? That has been incredibly exciting. And I haven't thought twice about, did I make the right decision? Now, I will say the thing that is the most difficult, as everyone would assume, is that you leave your students. And so that has been, I thought I would have a lot more interaction with students this year, but running your own business takes up such an enormous amount of time that has been very, very difficult. Now, it does happen. I mean, Friday, we went out with an old student to dinner. Last night, I was at a graduation. My man, Miles Bird, graduated from Temple University. Yeah. So went to Philly and went to his graduation party at his grandmom's house, and grandmom did it up. It was fantastic. Man, a great night.
It was so fun.
So, there's still a lot of that, but it's not where I am. But even that, I have kind of on a shelf of like, this is still important, but I need to take care of.
Well, there's levels. There's levels to everything, yeah. Right? And at this level of us and Real Rap with Reynolds, it's just us.
It's a lot. It's like a lot of
little. We have a very teeny tiny team.
Yeah. So cool. Hit it.
Okay. So Nassim is up asking, how do you overcome colleagues and admin challenges, especially if you're young? Nassim, I just want to say you asked really great questions. I love all your questions.
How do you overcome colleagues and administrative challenges, especially when you're young? Do you have? I think I know what I want to say for this, but I'm curious.
Yeah, I have an answer. Well, I think it's, you have to be open to actually listening to them and maybe believing that what they're saying is true, because you're young, right? Anybody that's young understands that when you're young, you just don't know as much as people who are older generally. And when you've experienced more in life, there comes a level of wisdom, or it should, with everybody. Yes. And not everybody does. So it's like, you do have to figure out, like, are they really just like nagging on you? Is it like, what are the challenges specifically is going to depend on how you handle it. But two, if it's critique wise, I would say be open to listening and open to hearing people instead of feeling attacked or it's a judgmental thing. I think that is something really hard when you're young, at least for me in my life experience. Young meant like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like, I just get nasty. Like, I just get quick to like, right. So I think it's being open to listen.
So my answer is going to be similar. It is, you need to grow you.
Yeah. Facts.
And so I would do a deep dive of, I just saved on YouTube today. It's Jim Rohn's communication workshop. It's like 50 minutes. But it's like doing deep dives on things like that, where it's like, hey, I'm having a problem with my boss. Let me look up stuff on how to deal with a difficult boss. I know Jocko Willink has talked at length about that. So it's trying to grow you so that you can deal with situations, you can deal with problems, you can deal with colleagues better, and you don't need them to change. We're not waiting for them to change. Yes. I need to change.
That's exactly what I was going to say. So he said it's specifically jealousy and nagging. So, right, if you have someone who's an admin or a colleague that's older and they're jealous or nagging, it's like, you're not going to change that person.
Yeah.
You have to grow you to be able to handle people who are jealous and naggy, because it's not like they're just not going to change. You can't do anything to change that. Like that's out of your control. The only thing that you can have control over is your own emotions and your own way that you respond and how you handle those folks. But yeah.
Look, there's people that do that. They're like, who else am I thinking of? There's another business guy. I'm forgetting his name. John Maxwell talks about this a lot, where it is, here's the problem, here's what's going on, here's what's happening, and then how can I deal with this person better? Because look, the fact of the matter is that in schools where things are falling apart, where people have poor leadership, where people have teachers that they're working with that aren't nice, that are rude, that are not fair, that whatever, there are people, someone somewhere is finding success in these situations.
Yep.
We need to look for what those people are doing and understand that success leaves clues, and then just implement what they're doing. Find what's working for them. And that might feel hard, might feel like a stretch, might feel like this is uncomfortable and unnatural for me. But if you really want it, it's like, how bad do you want it? And so it is learning how to do some of those things. And it has an unbelievable impact on your whole life when you can do that.
John Lopez said some colleagues and administrators forget what it was like when they were young.
Yeah, they do.
Right. Yep. But I also think that some teachers forget what it's like to be young for students. Like when we expect students to like this regimented behavior all the time. And it's like, do you remember what it was like being a kid?
Yeah.
It's like, they're just squirrely, like all the time.
Or, you know what, babe? Like, you weren't that kid, right?
Yeah, maybe
you became a teacher because you loved school. It came easier for you, right? And your parents were supportive. There were other things that, like, we have to realize that, like, we're not teaching little us's. We are teaching all kinds of different people.
Thems.
Yeah. I didn't really have one backup.
Well, Nassim's asking, what's easier, first year or second year teaching? What do you think?
Second year. Yes.
Someone said, yeah, second year, for especially if you have like a little file of materials built up.
Yeah, if you're teaching the same thing, but even like you just know, you're in the know now. And so, yeah. And ultimately it should be getting easier every single year. But I felt something around like year 5 where it was like, I felt that feeling of I could settle right now. I know exactly what I'm going to do this year. I know what's worked, what didn't work. I could ride out those didn't works, just grit my teeth and get through it. But man, I could begin coasting. And I think that's a tricky place to be in, to decide whether or not you're going to keep going hard and expanding and being the best teacher for these students, or if you're just going to say, nope, I got it. I figured it out. Just ride off. That's a scary place.
All right. Dustin is up next. It's a bit, let me see if I think it's a 2-parter, but let me read it out. It says, asking, I'm not sure how to exactly ask this question, but I have a high school junior in my class. Let's call him K. K's a pretty big bully and often curses and threatens other students. He doesn't let any teachers connect with him. He has a BIP that lets him get away with a lot of undesirable behaviors, such as headphones and phone usage and frequent walkarounds of campus. All that being said, he doesn't have any friends, and now other students are starting to push back and complain about his behavior. Parents, start there. Let me see if I can find the rest.
That's a great question.
Well, do you have anything to start with?
Yeah, well, I'm going to see.
I don't know where it is, though. And there's a lot of comments in here today.
Okay, so let me know if you find it.
Yeah.
And I'll start, right? So first of all, Dustin, this is such an important question. And then big question. Look, I can't see my face. So, gosh, all right.
Yeah, I can't find the other part.
To me, I think most of us on here have taught this kid before. And where I think this starts is there's all the regular stuff that's going to happen. There's the BIP, there's going to be the 504 plan, maybe there's an IEP in there, maybe there's any number of things. It is to me, has to be a person-to-person connection with this individual. There is a reason that they are acting out like this, why they are cursing all the time, why they're bullying, why they are threatening other students. And I think that there's a couple of things in here, right? One, you might be the person that this kid needs to make that switch. You or you and your community, right? They're the teachers that have the students, or at least a small group of them, might be able to start creating the space to get this kid to learn about who they are, why they're doing what they're doing, that there's another alternative to this, right? So that's part of this, is like, it is that deep and uncommon level of caring that could start to bring a kid out of this. And look, I've been there. I've orchestrated some of these things and started really, really, really loving on kids and trying to create classes that they want to come to, trying to really listen to them, eating lunch with them every single day, seeing, providing opportunities in the summer, providing opportunities after school for them to come in and connect with me and do stuff. And I've seen it work. I've seen it where you can't even, that kid walks across the graduation stage and it is one of the greatest joys of your life, is watching that happen, because you were like, man, we did it. We actually helped this kid out who was going to go a different way. Now, let me say this. There's another side of that, where either you're not going to be, you might plant the seed, but you're not going to see the outcome. And I just think that because you don't see the harvest doesn't mean that your contribution didn't matter, right? It's something that one of my mentors tells me all the time. Because you didn't see the harvest doesn't mean the contribution didn't matter. So maybe you are the planter of the seed. Someone else is going to water that seed. Someone else is going to care for that kid going forward. And you won't even know that that kid had a life change, or that they got it together, or that their life ended up being this abundant, incredible experience. Now, there's other kids that they're just not going to change, because we don't have the school doesn't have the resources, right? And look, I understand everything can't come down to the school, but even when schools have resources, maybe it's not enough therapy or enough counseling, or we don't have what is needed to really help this child, or that child is just like, they just don't want to. There's not a want to be better, to want to be a good student, right? And that's, those are difficult pills to swallow, to realize that, like, man, I want to see how this turns out, and I want it to turn out for the best. In those cases, I think the other thing that has to be really important is we are looking at the other students. We're having conversations with kids about, are we bullying people back just because they are bullying us? Or are we finding better ways to deal with this? Are we looking out for one another? Are we as educators creating classes where when I'm, because I know this is like when you're lesson planning and that student K is in, they're the one that you go, we can't do that because K is going to mess it up. We can't do small groups. We can't go anywhere outside of the classroom. We can't, I'm embarrassed to have someone come in and speak to my class like as a guest, because K might, lose it. We have to create classes where that is not, that one student is not dictating how I'm going to do stuff, because all that's happening there is everybody else is losing out on an opportunity. So there needs to be a plan in place for what happens when K can't perform, can't act appropriately, is being like incredibly inappropriate, so that they are going to the office, they are going to the therapist, or going to the counselor. We're doing something, but we cannot stop awesomeness from happening because someone is going to, you don't not have a pee part or a pool party because someone's going to pee in your pool, right? It's just like, no, we have to figure out a way around that. We have to figure out something to do with that. So that's how I would be thinking about it. But it's also, for every kid that we have like that, it's really looking for, how can I help in this situation, and helping the rest of your class, helping that student grow, but also helping your students grow also with learning how to deal with being a bully. This gives you a great opportunity to care for kids that feel like they're being bullied and not cared for, to look at kids that are getting cursed at, to look at kids that are like someone's threatening them, and to care for them through that, to walk through that with them is a really great opportunity to build connection and to build character in young people.
I will say that not every kid is ready for the love, the advice, the thing, but it doesn't mean that they're not able to be that in the future. They're not broken, they're not lost, they're not just because someone has been through trauma and damage and doesn't mean that they're like a worthless, like to never receive it. It's like they'll get there eventually at some point. They have to,
hopefully,
right? Hopefully, the point is that they have to want it to be able to actually do anything with it.
Yeah. And look, for those kids, when you just tell me I'm not doing it, and I've tried everything, it's like, listen, you cannot get this much of my attention anymore. This isn't you can't be a black hole of attention. I am now going to pivot and start pouring far more attention into the rest of the students and I'm not giving up on you, but I'm just letting you know when you're ready, let me know and I'll show back up like that. And I'm not holding any grudges. I'm not mad at you. I'm not like, oh my gosh, now you want to do this. I'm there for you as soon as you want it, but I just can't stay here, right? Because it's not a good use of my time and energy. I'm turning it to the rest of the class. When you want to try, when you want to care, when you want to talk, when you want to give something, let me know. And man, I'm on it and we will ride this out together and I will be your ride or die. But if you don't want to do it, I'm not just going to sit here with you. That's a terrible use of time. Cool.
Yes, absolutely.
All right, we're at an hour.
Yes,
we good?
Yep.
Let's go. Mother's Day it up.
Yes.
So look, to all the moms out there, happy Mother's Day to you. If your school is looking, now is the time that schools are often looking for folks to come and speak at their school. You can go right to our website or hit me up at realrapwithreynolds@gmail.com. And I'd be happy to send you any information of what it would look like to do a keynote or just a professional development session or breakout sessions or run your whole week of professional development. Like you let me know or put me in contact with someone at your school and I'd be more than happy to have that conversation. And look, when we do that, we take care of everything on our end. We try to let schools just like not have to worry about it. We are going to show up and give you something extraordinary. So, and by we, I mean me, because I'm the only one that's going to come to your school. My wife's not coming with me. Who's going to feed my dog?
We're kids, you know.
I just domestically.
Well, that's okay because that openly that's what I do here. Like I'm okay with this role.
More than that. So much more.
Thank you.
So look, gang, I'm so glad that you're all here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Sunday, and we will see you back next. We only got 2 more weeks left of this for this season, and we're taking off for June. So we will see you then, right?
Yep.
Cool. Peace.